If you've ever wondered why people get involved in networking groups, this conversation between me, Brett, MaryJo Hoover, and Courtney Fricke is a great conversation to hear because we have found a ton of value in our BNI group and we've grown together in a very important way. And I think it's important that people hear this if they're interested in learning more about getting involved with a networking group. How do you like to go out and build relationships? And so, if you understand who your ideal client is, then you can speak to them the way they want to be spoken to, which also goes into helping them cut out a lot of the emotional side of what they do. And so a lot of people, when I talk to them, it's like, should I join this group? Should I do this? Should I market to how do I get in touch with that person?
Should I invest in this?
Should I invest in that? Should I buy this magazine ad? My conversation always starts with, I can only answer that question if you tell me who your ideal client is. If you can tell me who your ideal client is, then you can say, is that person present at that meeting? Are they going to be reading that magazine? Do their kids go to that school? They play those sports? You have to be able to have a little bit of context there. And so, marketing is my favorite part of doing business is the building relationships, being intentional about that kind of stuff.
That's the fun part.
It's the fun part. And look, and how we can all relate is that the three of us are in a BNI group together, right? So we meet every Thursday. And I think that the deeper aspect of our group is not only were we attracted to that networking group, which is BNI, because we relate to the values that BNI has, but you can go to 3 or 4 different BNI groups and get different vibes from different groups.
You can.
And I drive to Hammond every single Thursday morning because I enjoy not only BNI, but the group of people that we have within BNI. And I think that speaks a lot to, to us, right? If you come join our group, you know about us by spending about 30 minutes with our group. You know the type of people we are. And I think that, that part of it, right, there's a relationship side, but then the systems in which you can navigate BNI. Brett, I know you've been in BNI for a year or so now, maybe a little longer in our group.
Yeah, I just made a year.
And I think that you have, out of anybody who's joined our group, followed the process of how you generate business from those groups better than anybody else. So why don't you talk a little bit about how you've utilized BNI to help you?
Before we do that, can you explain if someone, so I know I'm not in the BNI group, but let's just say, and I have a concept of it, but if someone doesn't know what a BNI is, can you explain what that is?
Yeah, so BNI is a networking group. I think it stands for Business Networking International, and it's about getting like-minded individuals in different spheres all together and following a very strict regimen each week and getting to know each other and building relationships in order to pass business to people you like, and you trust. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And the whole philosophy is behind a BNI is giver's gain. So the more you give is the more you eventually return. And that really hits home for me because I would say I have a servant's heart, and me and my mentor, when I was kind of going through banking and stuff, we're still very close, but we kind of talked about having a servant's heart and having to serve. And I think that's a very similar principle to the giver's gain. You're going to serve other people and not expect anything in return, but ultimately it's all going to come back to you one way or another.
Another good thing about BNI is there's no competing. So I'm the real estate agent of the group.
So there's one per industry sector.
One seat, and no one else can come in and steal that seat. So, and then you create power spheres within your group with like me and Jared and Brett. We do a lot of business with each other because we're all in the real estate industry. So there's other people that you can do business with that relate to your industry but aren't in the same industry.
So like we have like the insurance guy, the home inspector, the AC guy,
the roofer,
the lender, the agent, the title company. Like we all work together. I mean, I can't tell you how many
same industry but different sectors.
Yeah. And again, we all have a basic underlying shared value with BNI's giver's gain. We all like to give as much as we can to the group, but then within the group that we have, we all enjoy working together. I can't tell you how many people I've referred to TJ to get new roofs. They probably put on 10 new roofs for people this year. And I know that it's all come back to the two of you through TJ. So like we're all in this sphere of business and it works really well. I think a lot of people get confused with BNI and they think that if I join this group, I have to use the individuals in this group. It's your job to go to that and prove that you deserve to have the business. There's no entitlement when you walk in the door. Mm-hmm. But again, if you join the right group, and usually the people who stick in there longer are because they fit well within the group, they do a good job, and the group trusts them to do the work. I mean, that's why we have been in BNI for so long. I've driven to BNI for over 2 years now consistently because this group is just a great group of people and we all work really well together.
Yeah, I think you see it's a testament of our group because you see other groups in the area starting to fizzle out, or like, people are dropping out and, they're trying to rebuild or rebrand. So it's good having an established group and having those core connections.
Yeah.
So Brett, tell me, how did you, Jared said that you have done a very great job of being very intentional with the BNI group. What does that look like for you?
Yeah. So BNI, your metrics, you get, it's called a stoplight report. So you're either in the gray, which isn't good, red, which is still not very good, yellow, or green, right? So that's kind of the metric. So it's weighted on attendance. It's weighted on having one-to-ones with people in the group. It's weighted on referrals and passing along thank you for closed business and inviting people. So I knew as soon as I got in, and you have to attend BNI. If you miss 3 times in a roll in 6 months, you can get kicked out the group.
Yeah.
Right. So it's very strict. So you're supposed to be there. So
Jared, so you've been good with that?
I show up.
Good.
Jared's been very improved on that.
Very improved.
Very improved.
Very improved. Good.
But
good.
he was very intentional. He looked himself in the mirror and said, I know I haven't been the best. I'm going to do better. And since then, he has been there every time.
And our group, we all enjoy each other so much that we give each other grace. I mean, the rule is that you show up every 3 meetings. There was a season in last year where I didn't have the ability to be in 2 places at once, and I had to. And I was honest with everybody, and I told them what was going on, and they gave me some grace, right? But I also told them I totally get if something happens and somebody else joins and y'all feel as though they add more value, then so be it. But I find enough value in this, I'm going to come as often as I can. And I will eventually get out of this season in which I can be there more often.
Yeah. And that's a very real part of entrepreneurship,
100%.
right? Where it's like sometimes there's just that season where you're like,
The good thing about it too is you're able to send a sub. So a lot of people are kind of hesitant to join this specific networking group because, I don't know if I could commit my time to every Thursday morning, but it's the consistency that earns you the trust and the relationships with the rest of the group. So if you're unable to make it, you send a sub. It doesn't even have to be a representative from your business. If Jared can't make it, he can send you, Courtney.
It could be a past client. That's actually a good sub to send.
Yeah, it could be anyone. And not only does Jared get value out of it, you get value out of it. You get to meet people that you may not have met. And, someone may stand up and start talking about windows, and you may have broke out a window during a snowstorm or almost did, tried to, so it's,
I don't know if you heard that story.
That's the good part about BNI. And, a lot of people are kind of hesitant to that, but I just encourage, come visit, come try it, come check it out.
Yeah. And one of the things I did when I first got in, I made sure to sit down and have a one-to-one with every member of the group.
Yeah,
right?
you
So
did.
the first 2 to 3 months, I was having 2 to 3 meetings a week with each member of BNI because
That's awesome.
I
It's
knew
very intentional.
I knew it was important to sit down with everybody and get to know them, and because I needed to show them that, hey, here's how I'm going to conduct my business. I'm not going to give you any funny business. I'm not going to pre-approve or pre-qualify somebody just off their word. I need to see facts, and if there's any roadblocks in there, I need to vet them first before issuing that letter, so we at least know how to get over those hurdles, right? So I was very clear and intentional of how I conducted myself in business in order to build trust and rapport, because there's too many people in this business who will do things that you shouldn't do. And point at the underwriter a week before closing, oh, this is this. Truth be told, as lenders, you should know 95% of the problems that you're going to face throughout the transaction and address it on the front end. Now, there's always these one-offs that you can't control, whether a client does something or these just really weird situations. But you should be able to know that. So I needed to make sure that everyone knows how I conducted myself and made sure that they knew me, they liked me, and they could trust me.
And I love that. So it sounds like within BNI, they told you the metrics of like what success looks like, right?
Yeah.
And then, but it sounds like you said, okay, so this is what has helped people succeed in this, and then you just went in and put in the reps.
Yeah.
And that's what most people like. That's sold separate, and most people they forget that part. That like going in and just putting in the reps. It's not sexy, but it does create results.
No, and you're right, Courtney. And what I've started doing this year, for tracking systems, one, I got a Remarkable, which keeps me very organized. But I started taking that BNI model over the last ever since I got married and got back from the honeymoon, started taking the BNI model and tracking my business and my numbers, right? Now I'm tracking all the one-to-ones I have outside of BNI or individual meetings, and showing that, looking at those numbers and saying, okay, where's my business this month? What was I doing 60 days ago? What was I doing 30 days ago? And I'm seeing the fruits of that labor pay off now by following the BNI model, but just applying it to a more
all the relationships. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, and I'll tell you something else that I hear a lot of times about BNI groups. And again, I think that I hit that phase of my business or my life last year whenever I got busy and I couldn't go to all the meetings, where people will take that as an opportunity to step out of BNI because they feel like, oh, well, I don't need it anymore, or it's not giving me anything at this point. I've already gotten everything I can out of it. In my opinion, our group and my BNI, in my opinion, is part of the foundation in which I've laid for my business. If I don't do that anymore, I'm removing a portion of that foundation. I have to consistently continue to go because I'm still building the relationships with the people who give me the positive referrals and recommendations, or the people who are the one who will stand up in a group of people and tell people about what I do or send me business consistently. And so by removing that, I would be taking a piece of the foundation of which I have. And so that's why as soon as I was able to, and let's be honest, I missed like 3 meetings in a row, which, I
think you sent a sub for at least one or two.
I tried. But I think it really stood out whenever I was supposed to stand up and speak and I didn't show up. That was really weird. Yeah. But anyway, I mean, I think that again, it's a part of the foundation of which my business is established, and I will always be in this BNI group as long as I'm able to, because I think that it is a huge part of how I was able to get our business off the ground for the last 2 years.
Yeah, I can't tell you how valuable our relationships, my relationship with Jared and my relationship with Brett is because of BNI. There's not many people that could be sitting at a table with a client and call Brett on the phone and he give them advice right then and there. I know that when I call you guys and Jared, I call you constantly with problems, that I can't handle, and having you answer your cell phone or, even call me back, text me back is just so valuable to my business. I think that's important too. You get your team together that like, trust, and work well, and your business is going to go so much smoother because of that. And sure. BNI brings that value.
So as we wrap up, I think 2 things. We want to let people know how they can get in touch with you, but also let everybody know too that like I'm a part of the BNI group, but MaryJo is the president and Brett is the vice president. There you go, vice president. So like they get a big part of the leadership.
I've been told to do.
And so especially for 2025, if somebody not only wants to get in touch with you guys about buying and selling a house, if you want to join our BNI group or at least come visit, tell them how they can get in touch with you.
Yeah, so you can reach out to us individually or visit bnilouisiana.com and look up the chapters. We are the Trade Winds chapter in Hammond, or technically Ponchatoula, but we meet every Thursday morning from 8:30 to 10. It's a really great group. Come have free breakfast on us.
8:30 to 10, like you said, it's at Strawberry Manor. So if you're going toward Ponchatoula, it's Walmart. It's right there on the right before that.
Yeah.
So, you can come visit. Like Brett said, there's free breakfast. And if you want to get in touch with me, you can reach me on my cell phone. You want me to give them my number? Sure. 225-369-1048. That thing lives in my hands. So you can reach me that way, or you can reach out to me. I have my Facebook page, Hoover Home Sales. My personal Facebook page is MaryJo Hoover. And then, I'm on Instagram and TikTok if you want to watch some entertainment. But
That's great. Well, I appreciate y'all coming on. This is exactly the conversation that we were looking to have. So appreciate y'all.